Yeah, my name's Yaiyr. I'm with In the Belly and at Belly Zine. I'm hostage held captive in a prison in Chester, Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia. So I started organizing like in prison in like 2014, and it was because I was dealing with a prison administration that was like discriminating against everybody, but like different groups had to deal with different things, and so me and some others came together and decided to organize to get some goals accomplished that we had, and then over time that led to different kind of um, meetings where we would have conscious discussions and we would talk about how to struggle against the system as far as like um, the prosecutors out in Pittsburgh where we were close by to, and how we could try to mobilize our folks to get out and vote and get somebody elected that would be more progressive, and you know and so we did more like political education and experience that kind of showed us that was like kind of it was a cool thing to have something to organize around, but wasn't necessarily revolutionary. It was gonna bring us toward the type of freedom that we all need. So learning through those struggles, I began to develop a little more politically around that time. I met my comrade Safir, and you know we dropped the ball on having political discussions, but and and a few months later, we both ended up in solitary together, and we picked that up and decided to we began organizing, and did a little bit of struggling back there in the hole, and then from there continued on with organizing political education groups, and that's what I've been doing since then. So it's been like, well, like maybe 6 years now, 5 6 years of writing and educating and bringing people together, and sometimes getting kicked out of a prison for organizing a strike and then sent to another prison. And right now, I happen to be in SCI Chester outside of Philadelphia, and I'm taking some college courses, trying to get my mainstream education, and working as a tutor to help other people get their GED. I feel like abolition is the current iteration of the struggle against white supremacy, slavery, and colonialism that's been ongoing for over 500 plus years, right? Like, it's the fight against the ideologies and the logics and the forces that work together to implement genocide and subjugation of millions of people. And just like that system has been evolving up to the present time, and expresses itself in modern public policy. So our movement has also been evolving, and I feel like abolitionists carry on that struggle today. I bump into people, like especially in prison, who feel like it's idealistic, not realistic, and it's utopian, right? We always like our ideas and the things that we're fighting for are things that can't really happen. Um, and I think that I think that's a misconception, because according to the logic of the people who want to sell us, the idea that prisons and police keep us safe, then utopia is Chicago or New York or Philadelphia or some other city that has an extremely well-funded police department, right? Some other place that invests all their resources in prisons and cops. Then they must live in utopia if that's what keeps us safe. And so to imagine a different world where we don't have those things, where we keep each other safe and we build the systems and the structures that kind of create that world we want to live in, to say that that's unrealistic, to me that's a misconception. So I think the biggest thing is like coming together and creating organizations that are capable of achieving goals that we set, right, for each group. So every group of people is going to be different. They're going to have a different struggle. Some way that they feel that the state is kind of restricting their freedoms or coming down on them or putting their life in some type of precarious situation. And so you got to be able to come together as a community and work together to struggle against that, whether it's right. So in prison sometimes it has to do with the conditions and um, so we find ourselves filing grievances, which lead to lawsuits, which lead to some type of change in policy, or sometimes it has to do with something daily to where people are like on a strike, like a hunger strike or something right then. But it's usually people coming together to do it because there's power in numbers, and just like it's a large system against us. We have to become large, right? We have to come together and make ourselves big to be able to fight something that's also big. Um, I don't want to speak too much to what people can do out there, you know, in the quote unquote free world, because I'm not there, and I feel like each person, each individual, and each collective has to make those decisions. But I think it can be from um, organizing tenants to stand up against a landlord, to organizing, workers against, a fucked up corporation that they work for, or just coming together. And I'm hearing a lot about people that I talk to. They're talking about doing self defense classes, and mutual aid, being there for each other, financially, or giving somebody a ride, right, when they need a ride, or taking care of somebody's kids when they gotta go to a job interview. Like that's the type of stuff that is just everyday, abolitionist activity. I think what's unique to what it feels like amongst most abolitionists that I know is we got like this aversion to top down organizing, to creating hierarchies or creating the same kind of structures that we know oppress us now. So and there's lots of different I don't know, like revolutionary tendencies that feel they got the dogma, the game plan, the blueprint for how to like be revolutionary and create some different system. But I feel like abolitionism is like the only tendency that kind of says, what are we going to do with the people amongst us who are like struggling, you know in precarious situations, whether it be like with mental health or disabilities, or people in what they call like high crime environments or whatever, like which are really like people being criminalized for survival. How do we address that, and how do we address that with grace and mercy, and like try to like not dispose of people, because everybody else seems to have some idea about locking people up and throwing them away or killing them. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like abolition is saying we don't have to resort to that. Right, we don't. We there's other ways to deal with harm, to deal with, disagreements, and not make it about that. So, not to say that I view abolition as like the only, viable, you know, um, or the only valuable, tendency out there. But I think abolition is open to other things where you know, some groups are not open in that kind of way, right?